It's great to have you here, and we're going to be looking at the postures which are very linked to one another, side crow, and also Koundinyasana 1 or A. Okay, you can say 1 or A. Nobody will have a go at you. Now, with regards to these postures, let's just very quickly bring our focus mentally to what we're doing in both, because it's actually very similar when it comes to what's going on with most of our body. There's that variation when we do come into our Koundinyasana of an extension of the legs. Throughout our flows and our drills, we've been exploring the shape of chaturanga, and that's really, really important for both of these balances. We have the push of our hands. We have that lengthening of back body, which means strengthening front body. We're drawing our elbows in. And also we have adduction of our thighs, particularly, which is prevalent in our side crow, that squeezing them together. And boy, do we need to squeeze our thighs when we take that posture. But let's take a look as well at some of the props that we can use when we're coming into these postures. Okay, so some props that I really love to have on hand are a block or blocks, always and forever, and also the use of a wall space, which is going to be particularly useful if you're working on your side crow, but you're finding it a little bit difficult to not just get the height of lifting your feet, but also, let's face it, quite often we do have that I don't want to fall on my face feeling. That's normal. And by the way, from someone who's done it like 30 odd times, you'll be fine. Right, so let's start by looking at directions that we can face. So when you're freeform on your mat, you can either come side on, so i.e. when we lower down, as we will into our little crouch, you can turn completely sideways. Or you could stay facing front. I see this done a little bit less and go from here, particularly for your one-arm side crow. So you can play about with those directions as you wish and when you wish. But we'll take a look first at using some props and a two-armed support in our side crow. So my first prop that I'm going to use is a wall. Now, my feet, I have checked, are clean. Check your feet are clean if you have a light coloured wall, especially, okay, because you're going to walk up it, so that matters. I like to bring myself in, probably one of my feet away from the wall, okay, which means size 3 is little. And then when I'm thinking about coming into the posture, very much like in our kind of flow section with me for this part of the course, we're going to kind of pretend like we're taking Utkatasana, chair pose. But as we lower down, you'll naturally start to come up onto the balls of your feet and pop a little squat with your fingertips supporting you. We're going to start with a two-armed support in this variation. So I'm going to start to turn around. I'm going to go for that kind of side facing, and I'm going to turn around towards this right leg. Now, just like I would if I didn't have the benefit of my wall, I'm going to set myself up with both elbows to support. That means left elbow is going to take just that outer right knee, just above where that outer right knee is. And my right elbow is going to be ready to catch my outer hip. Okay. Now, if you don't get the distances quite right away from the wall first time, you'll know all about it and you can always fix that, okay? From here, I'm going to hug that right elbow particularly in. I need to think about my chaturanga arms, and I'm going to come up nice and high on the balls of my feet. I'm going to catch that outer hip. Now, as I start to lift my feet, I'm taking them to the wall and I'm walking them up the wall. And then I can just gently walk my way back down and follow my butt and do it all over again, okay? When I use the wall, I've got that extra little break there that lets me pay more attention to what's happening in my shoulders. So this might be a good point if you want to take a pause and then do this on your own again, and then we'll do the other side, okay? Other side, other story, right? So, much like what I did before, I think actually I was maybe a little too close to the wall, so maybe like a size 3.5, size 4 foot. away from the wall this time, and I'll see if that works better. I'm going to come in, crouch down. Now this is not my preferred side, but that's my problem. It's not that side's fault, so we're going to give it some love. We're going to turn around to that outer left leg. Again, I'm going to make my 2-elbowed shelf here. And as I start to work on catching my outer hip, I'm going to start to walk my feet up the wall. You can lift your gaze out to the side, and then you can bring your feet back down and take a little rest, okay? Now this will work for a one-armed support as well, so we can do a little bit of that with the wall. Coming in on that right side again, I'm going to come into my little crouch, but this time I'm going to take that left elbow into that midsection, so mid right thigh rather than lower down, and that right hand is now free. You're going to hug that right elbow in and pay more attention to that hug. As you lean forwards, both of your legs are being supported by that left arm. Now be mindful here. See if you can press the floor away more with your right hand to somewhat square that right shoulder. Because what can happen for all of us is that right shoulder, that free shoulder, is going to dip down, and we want to avoid that, okay? So again, we'll try that on the other side. If you like, at any point, you can always pause and restart. Using the wall for the left side, again, I'm going to go for that one-armed support. So, turning away from the wall, my right elbow is catching mid-left thigh. My left hand is freed up. I'm hugging my elbows in. I'm drawing my navel to spine. As I find that lift, I can take my feet to the wall. I was a little bit further away that time, so I can just play with coming in a little bit closer. There we go. And tippy-toeing my feet up the wall. And again, that gives me that wee bit more stabilization to just check that I can feel my shoulders are in an alignment. That means that left shoulder isn't sinking down. I want to keep that shoulder nice and safe and pain-free, okay? So, we've used the wall. One other prop that I can use, which will elevate me in my side crow, is a block. A lot of us will use a block when we're getting used to Bakasana, crow pose. So why not use it for side crow as well? For using your block in side crow, just like you would for coming into crow, take your feet onto your block. I'll usually use that on its low height setting, for obvious reasons, I hope. And then rather than let my knees splay out, I'm hugging my knees in. I'm going to turn around towards that right leg, and I'm going to go for that one-arm variation with my right hand free, hugging that elbow in. Left elbow takes my right thigh, and we lift. Again, you might come off your block when you come back down, but it doesn't matter too much. Just make sure you come down as safely as possible and take a little seat from there. So just to revise that on the left side, I'm going to come onto my block, but up on my tootsies. Hands are supporting. And then I turn around to that left leg. Hands come down. It's a little scarier to bring your hands down, for me anyway, just because it's like further to travel. And then I'm going to catch my left leg and see if I can lift up into the posture and come back down anytime, really. So they're block and wall prop variations of our side crow. For the next variation, which is going to be our Koundinyasana 1 or Koundinyasana A, I'm going to go without either of those props. What I would stress is that if you're at a wall, extending your legs, use your block. That would be the preferred prop for this posture. But for our Koundinyasana, we're essentially going to take what we've done in side crow And we're going to enhance it by extending our legs. I know. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so you will likely, if you're using your block, kick it out of the way. I've already done it in Psychro, and it, again, doesn't matter. But for me, I'm going to go without block, just cause, why not? We're going to come down, crouch down, and we'll start with right side again. I'm going to go for my one-armed variation here, but you absolutely can do it with your double elbow shelf. This is just my preferred variation. There's no better or worse. You're going to take that left hand, left elbow, and line more towards your mid-outer right thigh. And your right hand can go out wider and a little forwards, maybe even by 2 or 3 inches of that left hand. You find your side crow first, and then just work to extend. I would go right leg first before you extend your left leg. Now, there are people who can come out of this really sexily. I'm not one of them, and I'm cool with that. Just come on your bum, and we take the other side, okay? Again, we start from our side crow. In fact, sorry, I'll just adjust a little here. I might kick the wall yet. This time, right elbow is in outer kind of mid-left thigh. Left hand for me, I like to just take it a couple inches forwards. Hug your elbows in. Find your side crow. Oh, there we go, there's my head going down. I'll try again. Inner side crow. Yeah, there we go. Second time lucky. And then we work to find extension of our legs. And then we fall in a heap. So those are some of, I'm certainly not saying basic variations of these postures, but these are our fundamentals of these postures that we then build from. One of my favourite variations of either a side crow or a Koundinyasana A is to work with one hand and one forearm down. That can be a fun little transition to work into, which sounds mad, but doesn't everything sound mad before we give it a try and see whether we can do it, okay? Very much the same principle as what we were using in our previous balances. But this time when I go for my right side, I'm going to take my right forearm down to the floor, okay? So, crouching down, I'm turning towards that top end of my mat, or wherever you're facing, to get round to the side. Left elbow is catching that mid-right thigh. And I'm going to take my right hand further forwards. A good, not just size 3 foot really, okay? Because when I come forwards, I'm going to work on bringing my right elbow down. And I don't want to have it too close into my body, because that's going to let my right shoulder drop. From there, I press away with that whole right forearm, and I can look off to the left side. I can play with the positioning of my legs. We'll do the same on the other side. Left side. So again, we crouch down. If, like me, you do prefer to come in from that side, then you can. And then as I set myself up, I've walked that left hand far enough forwards that when my elbow comes down and I find that lift, my shoulder isn't massively dropping down. I can feel pretty steady, pretty square in my shoulders. And then we come back down. We have a seat. So there we have it. If you've been pausing this and doing these postures and trying them a few times, what I would really suggest is that you take a few moments of Shavasana time, or a restorative shape that really suits you. Maybe a supported fish pose, a supported bridge, legs up the wall, whatever you like. I'm so happy that you could join me for this breakdown of our peak postures as part of our death sequence, our Sacro and our Koundinyasana 1. Thank you.